After breaking camp this morning, dumping our tanks, and topping off our fresh water, we headed out. The drive from Singletree Campground to Calf Creek was less than an hour, but as you can see, even though it was a relatively short drive, the scenery changed dramatically, going from trees to a vast rocky vista. This morning, before we left the Singletree Campground, we decided to shower. We wanted to take advantage of being able to dump our tanks before moving on to our next location. Yesterday we both showered, and even though we conserved water by shutting it off while soaping up, by the time we were both done, the gauge said the shower's gray tank was full. The tank is only 5 or 6 gallons, so it's not very big. We dumped our tank when we got to the Singletree Campground before we set up yesterday, so the gray tank started off empty this morning. It had been 3 days since I washed my hair, so I really wanted to give it a shampoo, but I was worried about filling the gray tank. If you have a fear of heights, you might want to close your eyes during this part. But anyway, I was afraid that I would be standing in the shower and the gray tank would fill and back up and water would fill up around my ankles. But if I was ever going to put our shower to the test to see how much water I would use, today was the best day since we could empty the tank this morning. I decided to go for it, and to my surprise, by the time I was done, the gauge said the tank was only 1/3 full. I don't know why it said it was full yesterday, but I was glad to discover that the gray tank could handle 1 hair washing. Down there to the right is the campground we're headed to, Calf Creek. We're hoping we can find a spot to camp. It's first come, first serve. We've never been able to camp here before because rigs have to be less than 25 feet, and with our 5th wheel being 33 feet, it was too long. Now though, we're about 20 feet, so fitting here is no problem. This is also the parking area for the Lower Calf Creek Falls hike. We've been on that hike several times. It's 6 miles round trip, and you end up at a beautiful waterfall. But the water is ice cold. We were only able to walk in it for less than a minute before our feet were freezing. It's a very popular hike, as you can see by all the cars parked here. Our fingers are crossed that a spot will be available for us to camp in tonight. We have to drive across a shallow creek, but there's a concrete road under the water, so it's no big deal. We had to walk across here so we could go pay for our site. Here is home for the night. This beautiful view. This is part of our campsite here, right behind it. I hear the river, the creek, Calf Creek. Ooh. Muddy. Good thing I'm wearing my Keens. Meant to go in the water. Oh, okay. Here we go. Just don't fall in, okay? Yeah, it's a little bit warm. It's windy, but it's like in the low 70s, so it's a little warm, but quite pleasant. Whoa. That's fun. Too bad we don't have something to float on.
Yeah.
It's not that deep though, so I don't know if that would really work. It's a little grassy, so you don't want to slip. I'm just gonna wait here. It's icy cold, but it feels good. What is it? I can't hear you. A bunch of fish? Oh. Okay, I'll come over there. That's up to your knees. Oh, okay, never mind. Your ankles. Where's the fish? Oh, so it's just like one. I don't really want to go too far down here. Ooh, this is like up to my calves.
It's cold, isn't it?
It is cold. Oh, I see the fish. The camera's picking it up, but I wonder what kind those are.
Piranhas.
Piranhas. Let's hope not.
Maybe if we stay here long enough, they'll come up to us.
Nibble at your feet,
Yeah.
eat off the dead skin cells like at a spa. What is it?
There's a fish.
Oh.
Just sit right back.
Time to get out of the creek and go get set up. And we're back at camp. That was fun. Look how beautiful the site is. Calf Creek, not too far from Escalante, Utah. Just gorgeous. We weren't sure if we'd get a spot, but lo and behold, there were 3 to choose from. And we like this one, so we're happy. And it was $15 a night, which is pretty good. There's no dump station and there's like a pit toilet, but that'll work. Big old lizard. This is one of the few wildlife sightings we had on this trip. Although it wasn't much of a sighting. But just wait until we go to Yellowstone later this summer. That's where we see lots of wildlife. He's a big boy. We got our area set up because it's kind of hot in the sun. So we've got this lovely little seating area. The light from the setting sun cast a stunning glow onto the canyon walls. morning. Today's our last full day, day 5 of this trip. And it's beautiful here, as you can see from the scene behind me, and I'll put in a video here of kind of panning the view. It's a little after 8 a.m. and the sun is rising enough to reflect off those canyon walls there. It's so pretty. One thing I have to show you is this bird that was flying around here last night. A beautiful yellow bird with the most interesting sounding call that maybe some of you are familiar with. I have no idea what it is, so I'm going to play that for you now. If any of you know what kind of bird that is, leave a comment down below because we're really curious. And which leads me to my next thing. We don't have any cell service here. We're going on day 3 of no cell signal, which is good and bad. It's good because it's good to disconnect once in a while, but it's bad because we're disconnected from everything. We can't look anything up, we can't talk to our family, and so it's kind of hard. But the funny thing is, I grew up without internet. I grew up without cell phones. I got my first cell phone when I was like 34, and it was basically a brick, and all you could do was make phone calls, and after one phone call, the battery pretty much died. So you'd think I'd be used to not having a cell phone, but once you get used to having one and having that instant communication in your hand, it's kind of hard to go without it. 2 days ago, we didn't have any cell service all day. Yesterday, we didn't have cell signal all day, and of course, we don't have any right now. But today we are planning on going to Escalante, Utah, and we're going to dump our tanks. We need to get some ice, maybe some water, and then we're going to decide what we're going to do next for our last night. We may find some BLM land, some dispersed camping near Bryce Canyon. But once we have a cell signal, we can look on the apps that we like. We like the Campendium app, and that tells us where some dispersed sites are and has reviews and things. And so we're going to look at that and decide what we want to do tonight. And then we'll enjoy our last full day, and then tomorrow we'll head home. But it's been a really fun trip. We've enjoyed visiting all the beautiful places and just relaxing and doing a few simple hikes. But it's really beautiful here, especially in Calf Creek. And I hope you've enjoyed visiting the places with us. And now we're leaving. We get to go across that little creek again with our truck. It's very shallow. We walked across it yesterday, so not a big deal. Easy enough. Ooh. The drive from the Calf Creek Campground to Bryce Canyon National Park is 65 miles and takes about an hour and 20 minutes. Like yesterday, this drive is picturesque, with soaring canyon walls and wide open spaces. The scenery is so different within a short distance. In the last couple of videos, I talked about our refrigerator, as well as the gray tank we built in the bed of our truck, which is a separate gray tank than the one the shower uses. I want to give you a couple of updates. First, the fridge has been working perfectly, staying within the right temperature range. I don't know if it's just working better on its own, or if keeping a couple of frozen blue ice blocks in there makes a difference. I'm just glad it's working right. And then there's the auxiliary gray tank that we built in the bed of our truck. This is the gray tank that the kitchen sink, which is the only sink in the entire camper, drains into. When we built this gray tank, we did the math. Who knew that geometry and algebra would come in handy? Although I must admit that we did find some calculators online that we were able to use. Thank goodness, because my geometry is a little rusty. We can tell we're getting close to Bryce Canyon when the majestic pale orange rocks appear. Anyway, the math told us it would hold 6 gallons. It worked great. The only issue is that by the time we were done using it this morning, there was about an inch of standing water in the sink, which meant the auxiliary tank was full. Even so, it worked as it was meant to, giving us a way to collect the gray water from the sink without having to put a bucket on the ground outside. Before going into the park, we drove past the turnoff and instead went to a dispersed campground we found on the Campendium app. It looked promising, although the cell signal was rather weak. We weren't ready to commit to staying there just yet. Instead, we went inside Bryce Canyon National Park. So, we ended up going to Bryce Canyon. We checked out some dispersed camping about 7 miles away from here, and it was really nice. There's tons of space, really wide open, but it had a really weak cell signal. And after we went there, we had decided we were gonna go there and check it out and then come into Bryce because we knew there was a good place to dump our tanks for pretty inexpensive. So we checked out the dispersed camping, then we dumped our tanks inside Bryce Canyon at a dump station. It was $5, which was a really good price. And we saw that the Sunset Campground had vacancies. So we decided to check it out. And we came here and there are tons of spots. And I tell you, not a single spot was bad. But we decided to go ahead and stay here tonight for a couple of reasons. One, it's just beautiful. You can see behind me, it's just gorgeous. And I'll take you on a little tour of our campsite in a minute. But the cell signal is really strong. And to be honest, after not having cell service for 2 days, I kind of want to have that cell signal. So that did play into it. It's just a beautiful day today. It's cooler than it was yesterday. We're at about 8,000 feet, where yesterday at Calf Creek, it was like 5,000 or 5,500 feet. It was so windy there and it was kind of hot. This is just heavenly. This is perfect and beautiful. So we're really enjoying it. This is our last day on this trip. And we're glad to be here. And we're glad we chose to come here. It's just gorgeous. So let me take you on a little tour of our campsite. So here's the campground, and there's a lot of sites. And here's our truck and camper. And we kind of are on the end, so it feels very much like we're by ourselves. We do have a neighbor there, but not too close. This is all part of our campground, so we're gonna have a campfire tonight and have s'mores. It's just gorgeous. There's Dave hanging out. There's our little picnic table. Yeah, it's just gorgeous. After getting our site set up, we took a stroll around the campground. As you can see, it wasn't very busy when we came. It's mid-June, and the weather couldn't be more perfect, but there weren't a lot of people around, which was really nice. Back at our campsite, we had dinner. Then we decided, since it was our last night, to use the rest of our firewood, as well as have s'mores. First thing the next morning, we packed everything up and headed out. We had a wonderful time on this trip, but after 6 days, we were ready to go home. We loved using our truck camper and are eager to take it out again. Join us next time as we go to Yellowstone National Park, our very favorite place to visit.